I think it's a good temperature here.
Warm.
Oh my gosh, we're live! We're a little late today. Oh, George, no, don't leave.
Oh, George.
So much for that. We had a cute cat up here, and now he's off doing cat things.
Yeah, I better turn my phone down.
All right. Well, hey guys. Welcome to our book club book discussion for Right Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This is my book club pick. And also, Kelly doesn't know this, like what we're going to be doing for our craft today. I didn't tell her.
She didn't tell me.
I just picked a craft.
She made an executive decision.
I did. I pretty much did. So, I went to Dollar Tree after church today.
Yeah.
And I got us these little ornament jars.
Ornaments.
And this is why I asked you if you had picked the next book yet.
Uh-huh.
I have little things we can make little mini books. And we can put them in the ornament.
Oh, there we go.
And I have like ribbons and stuff we can decorate.
Oh, we can decorate.
We can decorate. I got little presents. There's the glue. We'll need those. Got fake snow. Put it in your ornament.
Uh-huh.
I also got those.
Well, my goodness, look at you.
There we go. Got poinsettias.
So much craft store exploded.
Yeah. It's also paint. We're ready. We're ready to go here. I even brought a plate and a cup for water.
Well, how about that?
Painted. Look at that.
She was like,
I'm prepped. I'm prepared. Yeah. I was really hoping that Dollar Tree had like the snow globes because you can buy them online, and so I went to my Dollar Tree and they didn't have them. This was the closest they had, and I'm like, okay,
that's okay.
I guess, whatever.
That's okay.
But yeah,
well.
so that's gonna be our little craft while we discuss this book, which, like I said, was my pick. So obviously, if you're here, you probably know what this book is about, but I'm gonna do a brief overview of it, as we always do.
We do.
So this book is about these two women, mainly focuses on two women, Pamela, who was a survivor of an attack on her sorority, and Tina, who is on the hunt to find her best friend / partner, Ruth, who had gone missing sometime before. And Tina gets into contact with Pamela because she is convinced that whoever broke into Pamela's sorority is the same guy who took her friend Ruth and most likely killed her. And so they team up together because Pamela, when she sees a picture of the guy Tina believes took Ruth, she's like, yeah, that's the guy, because she saw him leaving her sorority. She was the only eyewitness to the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, that's the guy. So they team up and they go on a kind of like mission to try and bring some justice to the girls, both Ruth and the girls from her sorority that had been murdered or just brutalized. So yeah, it's just pretty much about that. Follows them. And it also yeah. Well, I got some mixed feelings on this book because it also, like, anyone who, let me rephrase, they never come out and say who this book is referring to as far as who the murderer is or who the attacker is. They always call him as the defendant. But anyone who knows true crime or knows the story of Ted Bundy, it's very easy for you to know that that is who they are referring to. Like, they don't like try and hide the fact that that's what the story is revolving around. Those cases at all. They just never come out and say that. They call his by his nickname, the co-ed killer, but they never come out and say his actual name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
was the draw for me for this book, was the fact that it was about Ted Bundy, because I really like serial killer stories and things like that. And I think since all, like, the girls, the characters in this book were all fictionalized.
Right.
And I think that, for me, is kind of what took me out of the story a bit. I feel like if this had been an account from actual, like, victims or people who were actually involved in it or something, some actual, like, realistic, like, real people, then I think I would have liked this book a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hate the book. It was just kind of meh for me.
So when I was looking, because I have very mixed feelings also,
Mhm.
and when I was looking, I read that apparently a survivor of an attack, I don't know if it was the sorority attack or not, but just came out with their own book like 2 months after this was published.
Oh, I want to read that one instead.
Yeah.
Had I
So
known.
I don't know that I like having. Okay.
It's tricky.
It's not that
tricky.
okay, it's not that I don't think you can do real world things and put fictional characters in them, right? Okay, so that's
Mhm.
like historical fiction to a T. I get that. But this was like putting fictional characters in very key positions in the historical event.
Yes.
It's not like they were sideline characters,
No.
you know, like they saw it from a distance. It's not like they were like lived in the same town and what they went through as far as being afraid or whatever. These were the people, you know.
Yeah, like the key witness for the trial.
Yeah.
And like the best friend, like, like people who would have been on the front lines,
Yeah, like the actual people involved were fictional.
Yeah.
And I don't think I like that.
No, I didn't like it either.
I don't
Because
think
like I
like
said, it got to the point where I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because like we're talking about a real event and like it's just it just upset me because I just
Yeah.
wanted to hear, like, I don't care about the fiction. I don't care about fictionalized stories about people who would have been there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not that they were just there. It's
Yeah.
that they were like the people.
Right.
You know? I mean, I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. If they had been like other characters, like if they had not been directly involved, if they had been the characters had been on the police force or had run some kind of campus crisis center or something like that, then I think I would have been okay with it. But this is like it's like taking real people and putting fictional people in their place. It felt almost disrespectful to me.
Yeah.
And
well, it would have been like if somebody had, let's say, like somebody wrote a book about one of us, and just made up feelings, made up a story, made up a whole timeline of something traumatic that you went through.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. I meant to like look into the trial and more stuff to see if there actually was like a Pamela of the real world. I meant to look into that because I don't know. I don't know for sure. So like maybe maybe there wasn't one and she just created this character for
I don't know, but there was a president of the chapter house.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
There would have been a Pamela. Maybe she wasn't an eyewitness, but there would have been a Pamela.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
And I think it's also the mixture of real people and fictional people also, which again, I know that sounds strange because, you get historical fiction all the time where your fictional characters meet, real people.
Right.
So, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't hit me right. I didn't like it.
And it also was a fact too that the real people, like Bundy and like those people were actually like, they were written realistically. Like the way that Bundy, like during the trial and everything, when he was representing himself and the way that they were describing him and the way he talked, his manners, like all of that that was real.
Yeah.
Like that's real. And so to have like these fictional characters who may or may not have been based on real people, and then to have like the real person described like perfect, like so well.
Yeah.
Like that's what didn't mesh.
Just kind of a disconnect.
Yeah.
I just didn't. I didn't. I think I would have rather like make up a serial killer.
Yes.
Have it can be completely fiction. You could have done your entire same message, but had it all been completely fiction because really, I mean, I
I would have
suppose
enjoyed it better.
if you're really familiar with Ted Bundy's story, which I am not, I know the bare bones of it, but I mean, maybe you could get some enjoyment out of that, but I didn't. It didn't matter to me because it wasn't real.
No. No, and I mean
Blah! It just wasn't real. So why did I didn't care
yeah, no,
because
like,
it
when
wasn't real.
yeah, when it comes to like true crime or true events, this is why I don't like historical fiction either, because if I'm going to read about something that really happened at some point, I want the facts. Like, I want it to be like a first person account or like a document, like something. I want the real stuff. I don't want to
Mhm.
read about the dramatizations or whatever, the fictionalized things that someone assumes someone felt or went through or whatever.
If it's a real person.
Yes.
Because like, when we read
Well, I mean,
All the Light You Cannot See.
that's true. That was really good. That was good.
But those were made up characters. There wasn't a blind, well, I mean, there might have been a blind girl stumbling around in France, but not that you knew about.
Right.
I don't know.
I think this was just
It
too
just-
high profile.
Maybe.
Of a
and
thing.
that there was a real life Pamela.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I did not like that part. I did not like that about it
No.
at all.
No. It just
There's lots of things I did not like about the story.
no. Well, so like here we have this huge traumatic event. And I don't think that I don't know. Her Pamela in the book, granted, I can't say how I would react in that situation or in her shoes or whatever, but I did not like Pamela.
I didn't either.
At all.
I didn't either.
Nothing. I don't think that she handled anything well. And I honestly, I almost feel like she tried to write her to be relatable, as in like, because like she was the head of a sorority, so like the president of sorority in the South, no less, they tend to have a bit of a reputation stereotype of being kind of uppity, whatever sorority girls are. And I think all of the little side things about how she wasn't that way. I'm just a normal girl kind of a thing. Like, I'm just like everyone else, like whatever.
Yeah, and then at the
Everyone
same time
tells me I
she's
need
like
to smile more, blah blah blah. But
at the same time she's like going and buying gift bag sort of things for the girls in the hospital in their favorite colors because she knows it's in their favorite colors. Or when they're going back to the house, she wants to make sure that there's cupcakes and I'm like, oh, okay, sure, yeah.
There was like just so many things. I don't know. I just didn't.
The only thing that I did like about Pamela was how she was portrayed right after the killings.
Like when she found the
when she was so like disoriented and thought Denise was sleeping, and I thought that was really well written, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
but that was about the only time I liked her.
Yeah, 100%. Everything else was just kind of like, man.
Yeah, look at me. I actually wrote like 4 pages of notes.
Oh dang! I didn't write any notes. Granted, I just finished the book today, so.
but yeah, that was Pamela. Yeah, I thought that was good. Yeah, her character, I don't know. It was just dumb.
It was like she just I didn't like her. I didn't like her at all. It just was too many inconsistencies. It's like, decide what you want to be, and then also she just handled things really bad sometimes, and
yeah. And okay, so here's the other thing about they did not name Ted Bundy. It was always the defendant. And I'm assuming that is because not to give him any recognition, but to focus on the women.
Right. But we're
they
not focusing on real women.
Well, we're not focusing on real women, but well, we are, because the women that were killed, she kept their real names. So there was that. But there was so much page time dedicated to him. I mean, obviously you have to because he was the killer. But there was so much inner monologuing, like, I want to get this straight right now. He was nothing special. He was not intelligent. He was not. They did that over and over and over. And I'm like, really? You might as well just name him at this point, because you're still focusing on him.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, if they wanted it to be more about the women, then they should have spent more time talking about who they were.
Exactly. Denise was the only one that got a whole lot of page time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously Ruth, because she was the other point of view.
Right. But, I mean, there were 3 other girls that were attacked.
There was
another one that died. There were 2 others that were mutilated.
Nothing said about Robbie.
No, nothing at all.
At all.
Nothing at all.
And the
only reason that, what was Jill? Was she the one?
Jill was the one they went to visit in the hospital.
Yeah, the only reason she was there was because she was at the trial, yeah.
No, well,
and the hospital visit.
The hospital visit. I mean, they named him, but didn't talk about him at all. Listed their injuries in detail, because she was talking about how Pamela didn't know the details about how long Jill had her jaw broken. She didn't know how long. But that, to me, was just like, oh, now we have to cram in the bad stuff that happened to these women. Like, if you're detailing off, like,
well, honestly,
what he did wrong, this is what he did to her, and this is how long it took her to recover. And
yeah, which again goes to them talking about Bundy again.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're going to sit there and talk about their injuries at length, then you're just pretty much, like, in his eyes, you'd be congratulating him on his achievements.
Yeah.
Like, this is how well of a job he did at attacking these women.
I don't.
And so it's like,
there was a lot of attention still paid to him. And so at that point, the whole gimmick of not saying his name was just a gimmick. That's all it was.
Yeah.
So I didn't really appreciate that whole sentiment, because I'm like, seriously? You missed the mark on that one.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much about this book that was just too much.
Yeah.
The writing was too much.
It was very much like,
be going along.
It was just over the top.
Yeah. It'd be going along just fine for a while, and then just did that one step too far.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, what was the other thing? It was like, so much about this book was just too much. The writing, how much time we spend talking about Ted Bundy, but we don't actually name him, and how he isn't what the media said he was.
Yeah.
And I mean, over and over and over one time, and that was all in Pamela's viewpoint, that it felt so much like the author was like writing. Like, she really wanted to make a documentary about Bundy.
Yeah.
But she just couldn't. She couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think also, I mean, I fully understand there was a lot of misogyny going on at the time, but it's another one of those books where, like, almost every single man is bad and every single woman is good. So it was like, go sisterhood. And I really don't like that. But like, all of them, even the ones that seemed nice, she would come in and say, later in life I learned that was not. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even the ones that were being nice were not good. They were doing something bad.
Well, because they're men.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, that was just internalized misogyny.
Although I will say, there was one line in here that I thought was good. I listened to this book, and it kind of made me stop for a second, and so I had to go and mark it, because I thought that it was like kind of hit for me, because it's kind of a little bit how I feel sometimes with Brian. So they are in, maybe talking to the cops or someone. It's her and her boyfriend Brian, Pamela and Brian. And they're talking to Mr. McCall and Mrs. McCall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so then Brian is just like, they're talking about, the guy who did this, because they don't know at this point. It's like the very beginning of the book, and talking about what happened and all that, and how it wasn't Roger and blah, blah, blah. And Brian goes, give me 20 minutes alone in a room with him. Brian agreed in a ravenous, juicy way that churned my stomach. A little bit dramatic, but okay. And then she says, these were the men who cracked their knuckles while divulging to me what they would do to the defendant if they got the chance, thinking this was somehow reassuring for me to hear. But all it did was make me realize that there wasn't so big a difference between the man who'd brutalized Denise and half the men I passed on every day on the street. And that made me stop, because that, I was like, yeah, no shit, sister. No shit, sister.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you think that, like, yeah, that was a good line, because that's how I feel. Like, anytime I'm out and about, I see a man I don't know. If I'm by myself, most likely I will probably be crossing the street to the other side, or I will have my eye on him the entire time, or like trying to know where he's at, because I don't trust any of them.
I think that too, and there was another part in the book where she goes back to that, and kind of expanded on it a little bit, that how is it supposed to make me feel better knowing that you're every bit as capable of violence as the man who did this?
Right.
But because you're supposedly doing it for good, that's why it's okay.
Yeah. And that's something, like, a lot of men kind of like always turn to violence as a solution. And it's like, they'll, in a bar, some guy starts hitting on his girl, they'll fight him, punch him, like, whatever. And like, that would not make me feel better.
Yeah.
That would make me scared of you then. Because if you're that quick to go punch a stranger, how quick are you going to be to punch me? Like, you're not fighting for my honor, you're fighting for you. So, I don't know. Like, it's not...
Okay, so I went through this with one of my sons not that long ago, because a very good friend of his was hurt by a guy. And my son, who is not a over-the-top emotional person, became very irrationally angry. And his first reaction was to demand from his friend, who did this to you? I'm going to go get him. And he's telling me this all afterwards, of course. But, the point being that I told him, I'm like, how did that make her feel? What was she doing in that time that you were saying that? And he stopped and thought about it. And he said, well, she was crying and she told me she wasn't going to tell me who it was because she didn't want anything to happen. And I'm like, so she was comforting you when you should have been comforting her. So now you just made her scared that you would do something that might get you in trouble because of her. Because you're doing this for her, you're putting the responsibility and the blame on her. And because my son is a thinker, he sat there silent for quite a while. Until finally he was like, I never thought about it like that. And I'm like, we don't feel half as protected as you think we do when you do things like that.
Yeah.
All we're worried about is how much more trouble is going to happen and how it's going to be our fault. But it's that same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Pounding your chest, and telling me, how you would take care of the problem if you had 5 minutes alone in a room.
Yeah, that doesn't make me feel better.
That doesn't
Make me feel
that
safe.
doesn't help.
It makes me feel even more scared.
Yeah, it doesn't help. So yeah, that was, there were good insights in this book. There really were. And the interactions between whenever like Pamela or Tina or even Ruth were in like a group of men and how they would talk and be talked over or ignored entirely. That micro misogyny that we all know about.
Right. Every single one of us has experienced that.
But it's done really well.
It is, yeah.
And even her dad, and that's another thing, Pamela's dad, she kept telling us how, in her later years after this all happened, how it turned her relationship around with her dad and he became her best friend. None of that didn't show a dang thing about any of that, because even when she was with her dad and her boyfriend and they were eating, she asked her dad a question. Brian, her boyfriend, asked a question and she answered him. And he looked at her dad and said, well, what's your take on this situation? Not like in answering Pamela, but like ignoring her, like she wasn't even there.
Yeah.
And
so that could have been the dad's moment to be like, oh, well, she just said something, or like, Pamela said it. But
he went on and answered.
Yeah, pretended like she didn't answer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, her dad was like because Brian was being an asshole. So her dad was kind of cutting him down.
Which, that part was funny.
It was kind of funny,
because she was the one that got into Columbia, right? She was a law student.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she got into Columbia Law,
and she
very prestigious university.
Yeah.
Anyone would be lucky to get into it, and she was gonna go follow him to his stupid little shorebird college, whatever. I don't know.
State. He'd gone to a state school because he couldn't get in.
Because he's dumb.
He couldn't get in. So.
And she was gonna go and just throw her dreams out for a guy.
Yeah.
That part when it was Tina, I think, that was talking to her and being like, "You're really gonna do that?" Like, getting down to it all, just like, would he do that if the roles were reversed?
Right.
And she's like, "No, he would go to Columbia, and I would just whatever, like it'd be
okay.
And
I would move with him.
Yeah.
Like she wouldn't need. It still wouldn't be long distance. She would move with him and find other opportunities.
Yeah, it was literally like I would continue to make things convenient for him and whatever he wants to do and support him, but he can't support me.
Yeah. That's just not done.
No.
So there was good portrayal of even the casual misogyny that went on, during that time. But yeah, still
their breakup was good too.
But he wasn't even her dad wasn't doing that for her to show Brian that, he was doing it for him to cut Brian down because he didn't like Brian.
Yeah.
So he's still doing it for himself. I don't and then it came back and like said that, she didn't get as close with her mom, but her mom was trying, but yet in the book, the conversations stuff she had with her mom were better.
Yeah.
Like deeper. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't understand why she thought that her mom didn't, like, the author didn't do a good job of portraying her mom as the terrible mother that apparently she was, the uncaring, terrible mother.
Not really.
Because I'm just like, there's not a whole lot of bad here.
But the reason for it was stupid. So stupid. Made no difference whatsoever. It was the stupidest thing I ever read. Probably not, because I've read some really stupid stuff. But it was so dumb. The whole reason that her mom was freaked out that she went to Florida to school.
Yes. Okay.
And
I was like,
the reason that she was distant.
It made absolutely no sense.
They went on turns fine because so this is like brought up through the whole book that her mom is distant that she freaked out when Florida State University was brought up, and that's like the whole reason Pamela decided. But then when she got there, she felt a sense of belonging, like this was a place she needed to be. Because when she was 4 years old, tree's not big enough. You gotta put it up on something.
I thought it would be the other ones I had. I thought were gonna be too big, so I
Oh,
brought the babies.
you brought the little ones. Put it up. Put a present on there and glue it to a present.
Okay.
So when she was 4 years old and they went on this vacation, Pamela disappeared for 4 days. And when they found her, she was wandering someplace that she could not have gotten herself. And she was not hurt or like starving or dehydrated or anything like that. And that was it.
Yep.
That was it.
They were like, we think somebody took you, because that was the only explanation as to why you would have been okay.
Yeah.
And then let's just stop there. Like, we didn't try and figure out who took you. We didn't try and look. We didn't do
No.
anything. It's just like, we thought someone took you.
And so her mom.
And now we never go to Florida.
And so her mom was so distant because on the third day that Pamela was missing, her mom had accepted that she was dead. So she had let her go.
Yeah. What kind of a mother?
Okay.
Pardon me. Your child goes missing and you only wait 3 days before you're just like, she's dead.
Well, and if even so, on day 4, your kid turns up alive. And that's a reason to stay distant. I think in any other, you would be like overprotective.
Yeah. No, like 100%.
Anyway, and that was the reasoning for why Pamela felt so drawn to Florida. Like she had some sort of unfinished business that she had to. That was at the end of the book.
Yes.
She just felt it sloughing off of her. I'm like, what?
Like
You didn't even remember this happened.
Exactly. It's like, girl, please.
And then nothing. And then nothing. Like, why? Why? It was the stupidest reasoning for anything that I have ever.
Big time stupid.
Like, what? You're just going to drop that little bomb in there and just say, well, that's why my mom was distant and that's why I had to go to Florida.
It's like, please.
Okay. Awesome. I don't understand.
Because it made no sense.
But that was just like thrown in there.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of things like that were just thrown in there for some type of convenience because I don't even know.
Why? I mean, Pamela's family was like from New York. Her dad was a high-powered lawyer. Her mom was a socialite. There's plenty of reason in there to have narcissistic people to be uninvolved in your life.
Yeah.
But I think they had to make them good in the end. There had to be a reason. It was like everything the women did, there had to be a good reason for what they did. To the point that we're just tossing in random abductions. Lordy, I was expecting something like her mom had an affair in Florida and they had a big fight in Florida, or her mom was from Florida.
Yeah, that would have made so much more sense. She could have been trailer trash from Florida and not wanted her daughter to go back because then she might end up like her when she was, like, oh my gosh, that right there.
I don't know. I was like, oh lordy. But no, we had to throw in random abduction with no details.
No detail, no nothing.
No apparent trauma, even if Pamela hadn't been aware of what happened to her. No apparent fears, no apparent traumas to her little 4-year-old self. And 4 years old, you can say what happened to you. 4 years old is not an infant. That's like preschool people. 4-year-olds go to preschool.
Yeah. She'd remember it.
Anyway, whatever. So that bugged me quite a bit. because I'm like, that's so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
But she did that with Ruth too.
Yes, with her dad?
With her dad.
Yes, thank
The
you.
whole damn thing. Were you not expecting it to build up to incest?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I was so mad when that was the fight.
That was it.
That was it. Oh my god. No big deal. And I really hated
I mean, it was a big deal for the time, but really, like, they didn't know.
Right. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, that was so
and
damn
I do
dumb.
understand that it was a big deal for the time, but also I didn't appreciate the homophobia. I didn't like reading about that.
Yeah, it's what it was then. That was actually realistic.
I
But
know, but still.
no, there's no but still, darling. It happened.
Yeah, I know.
But okay, so that whole thing with Ruth. Like, Ruth was my favorite character.
Yes,
honestly.
mine too.
And she was probably the most well done. Like, her grief and her mental trauma through that whole thing was really good. The outlets don't work in here, dear. That's why we have extension cords running everywhere.
I was led astray.
You were. And this is plugged into.
Well, if it doesn't work, it's okay. I can always work on the outside of this bad boy.
Oh, let's do this. There is a solution.
A real good solution,
A
actually.
real solution. Let me take that out. There you go. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah. And you know, the reason that she was drawn to Tina, you know, I get that. But like, so it was all this about Ruth and Tina met because Ruth went to a complex grief like group therapy session. But yet there's nothing. They didn't really explore Ruth's complex grief.
Mm-mm.
You had to pick it up because her dad died. And so obviously there was some unresolved feelings around her dad dying. And her mom was like a cold bitch, narcissist.
Her mom was terrible.
Narcissist martyr. And so, I mean, immediately you knew something happened surrounding her dad's death.
Yeah.
Something was going on there. To have complex grief where you can miss a person but also be glad they're gone. You know? I was landing on incest.
Yeah, some type of abuse for sure. That's where I was headed.
Because she was basically like, her brother wouldn't talk to her.
The whole family was like, everybody hates you.
Yeah, I mean,
her little nephew. Oh my gosh, I wanted to punch that kid in the face.
Right?
My
Right?
God, like.
The only thing I didn't like about Ruth is like I did not get she was 25 years old.
No.
She acted so
like
much
17.
Yeah, so much younger. But so yeah, I was just positive either by her dad or her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that like her mom was covering it up because her mom was one of those everything has to be perfect kind of people.
Yeah, even when it wasn't.
Even when it wasn't, obviously. And then when bad things did happen, it's like, well, you can't be sad. I'm the one that's sad.
Yeah.
People need to take care of me. Like
I am the victim.
Ruth would go to her group and she would be like, if anybody does, don't you think it should be me going? He was my husband.
Yeah, because nobody else could have grief over losing him but me.
Mm-mm.
I'm the only one grieving.
So that wasn't it. Ruth turned out to be a lesbian, which you found out throughout, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a great big info dump in there where supposedly, so she and Tina had a relationship. And they journaled as part of this group. So the reason that you found out that Ruth was a lesbian who had experimenting with it when she was a teenager was that she let Tina read her journal. So it was this big, long info dump about how she landed in a mental hospital because her family found out. And then her girlfriend ended up married to her brother.
Yep, make that make sense.
And then they shoved her brother's married best friend onto Ruth. So that was fun.
Yeah, that whole thing was
And
just a
interesting.
mess. And then, like, Rebecca, the
Sister-in-law
sister-in-law,
/ girlfriend.
yeah, she was so
Mean.
mean for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand why she was so mean.
I think in the end, when Pamela went to visit her to get the tapes, okay, so I think part of it anyway, because I never could decide which way or the other, and then I thought, it could be both. I don't think they never told who Ruth's girlfriend was. They never told her brother. I don't know that her mom knew. So, Ruth's mom. So, through that whole, Rebecca was afraid of being found out because in those tapes must have been something. I don't know why Ted Bundy would have known anything about Ruth's teenage sex life, but okay, whatever.
Because he was so smart,
And also, but I also think there was part of it that sounded like Ruth wanted, or Rebecca wanted something of Ruth all to herself. Because she said, when Pamela said, we'll return the original to you after we make a copy for my client, she said, I don't want it if she has it. And so I wondered if there was just, she wanted, because of what happened, if she wanted some kind of remembrance that was just all hers.
Yeah.
Because she also ended up married to a man that she didn't, didn't love. So I think that was part of it too, but I don't know.
Oh, you're like filling that thing. How
Yeah,
you
but
gonna
that's
screw it on?
I'm not going to be able to screw it on. So yeah. So I think it was both of those things.
No.
Definitely for sure. Her brother did not know.
No.
But that was so funny is why was her brother so mean to her then? I mean, it made no sense.
Because I don't know. I guess he blamed her for her dad. Because it was her.
It was her and
being
her
a lesbian that is what sent him to have a heart attack.
But he didn't know that. Her brother didn't know any of that.
Oh, well, maybe I missed that.
Because it was her mom and her dad that knew. And at the end, when they had the big fight, it was her mom and her dad. Her brother never even knew. And maybe he did know that she was a lesbian and that's why they sent her to. But after that, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
And none of it was explored. None of it.
No, it was all just kind of thrown in there. Like it was supposed to be just like a fact, but they're not facts. It's all.
This is how Tina and Ruth met.
Yeah.
But then it would go back, like it was supposedly so impactful on Ruth's life. But yet it didn't mean anything.
Right.
I don't know. It just didn't really. I don't know, whatever.
Just needed to expand on some things a bit more.
Yes.
It was over dramatic in the wrong places. Like it had too much in the wrong places.
Yeah. And not enough in others. So it was really unbalanced. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was absolutely positive. Oh, and then when it finally was revealed what happened, which was basically they got into a fight and Ruth pretty much like told him during this fight, I'm a lesbian and so is my dad. Well, like they didn't know, first of all. I mean, it's not like he didn't know that he was a homosexual. He didn't know he was a gay man.
I feel like that's something you should know about yourself.
Thinking he probably did. But then like 2 days later, he has a heart attack at the wheel of a car and dies in a car crash. Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Ruth has internalized all this. It was all her fault. And, of course, the mother.
is convinced it's all her fault too.
Yeah, her mom was right on in on that. I don't want her. It didn't.
Oh, he's so cute.
But at the end, that's all that was said. That's literally all that was said about it. It wasn't even acted out. It was just said, this is what happened. It was like 2 sentences long, and then that was it. So all of this buildup through the whole book about complex grief and the relationship with her mother and the relationship with her brother was all, that's it. That's all it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're done and it's over. And I guess that's it. So it was so glossed over. I didn't really appreciate that at all.
Yeah. Nuts. Put the books in before the snow. Pro tip.
Pro tip. Anyway, I didn't like that.
Ooh. Oh, it might be too dull.
It might be, but we're gonna go with it anyway. What else? Oh my gosh. What'd you think of Tina?
I don't know. I think they were trying to make her out to be this like badass and but I don't really like her either, quite frankly. Like I think she had good moments. Like I did appreciate like her not being scared to kind of like tell people the truth, like like bring them to their to reality a little bit, because especially like Pamela and Ruth, sometimes they were a little bit like living in their own little fantasy world. They're not quite realizing like why they're feeling the way they're feeling, or like come to they don't want to accept the truth of things. And I appreciated her just being like, hey, look, dummy, you need to like tell that boy bye, or like you need to like deal with this first, like I did appreciate that. I like that about her.
Yeah, I thought she was a good character. I didn't necessarily like her that much, but I think she was a good character.
Yes, I think that she was definitely one of the better characters in
like
the book.
Because she wasn't like perfect. Sometimes she was rude and really like overbearing.
Yes.
Like, especially when they first met at that first session, she was so intent on everybody knowing that she was Frances's friend and student and she was special. You know?
Yeah.
So she could be, like a look at me kind of character.
There's a lot of that going on in this book.
Yeah, there kind of was. There kind of was. So I thought, she's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's so much better. Now you can see all of the books.
Yeah, there you go.
It looks like a little winter wonderland.
I don't know about Carl. Carl's another one. It was just one of those like every man has to be bad kind of situations. You know?
Because like he honestly was a fairly decent character. Like I didn't hate him.
No.
And I feel like he was doing great things with the investigating, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, he just flipped a switch and was just like the worst person ever.
Well, had to be bad.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why?
I honestly thought that there was going to be like a romance with
I did too. I thought maybe that was what would wake Pamela up to see that she did not want to be with Brian.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. I am all for this. This is actually like a smart relationship move, No.
But he had to be bad. So.
Yeah, of course. You had to have ulterior motives and be writing a book on Ted Bundy and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so good. You can actually see your tree.
Well, it's bumping up against the
the
top there, but that's okay.
Fine.
So, he had to be bad. I thought that was going to turn out pretty well, but
another disappointment.
Another disappointment.
Yeah.
Pamela. Okay, the other thing that really bothered me was at the end. Like, she went through this whole book many times over saying there's nothing special about him. He was just your run-of-the-mill crap person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, though, as Pamela, talking about how, she came to her knowing what she wanted to be in life, and she's a mediator for family courts to, help families not be bad, I guess. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but
Yeah.
Anyway, talked a lot about how, so many of these criminals and serial killers come from broken homes and all of this, and how in her own little way she was standing in the way and making a difference to make that not happen, right? So through this whole book, where we're not naming the defendant because he's a piece of shit that doesn't deserve any attention, but in the end we're going to make excuses for him.
Right.
Okay. Why do we need to do that exactly? Because, lots of people have crappy childhoods.
Not all of them turn into serial killers.
They don't. They don't.
Just a fun little coinkydink.
But yet at the end, after all of this, we have to fall back on the whole it was an abusive childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to make excuses after this whole book that was supposed to be about the women. We're going to
we're defending the defendant.
Now we're going to fall back on that old chestnut. Alrighty. From Pamela.
Of all people, the one that this whole time is like, he's... that just makes me think of the line from A Cinderella Story about, like, you're not very pretty and you're not very bright. That was, like, her thing the whole time. It's
yes.
Just, like, because at first, like, her whole thing was, like, okay, like, he's kind of good looking, and I get it, but then she started thinking about him, where it's like, no, he had a beak of a nose, and these really thin lips, and he was a small man. Oh my gosh, I had to always tell him that he's a small man. Constantly. Small boy.
If she had done that opinion a couple times,
yeah,
it would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there was at least 4 times that I remember.
Yes. It's like, we get it.
We get what you think of him. We get it.
Yeah. And, like, you have every right to think of him that way. He was a piece of shit. He was a terrible person. And all of this, like, yeah. And, it,
and yes.
You deserve, yeah.
Everybody thought he was just something. He had groupies.
He did. Like, that was actually written really, really well. They didn't write about it enough I guess if this was a book, it wasn't a book about Tim Betty, it was about the women, so
right.
They touched on it enough. But that was something that was very big during his trial, is that there were so many girls who were fawning over him while he's on trial for multiple murders.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Manson all over again.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy.
So, I get it, because, even the media had dubbed him, the All-American?
Mm-hmm.
All-American serial killer?
Something
the Kennedy of killers?
That was, I think, a headline for sure.
Yeah.
Because, apparently he had the boyish good looks of a Kennedy or whatever.
I don't think he was that good looking.
I don't think so either.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think so either. And when they talked about the Zac Efron.
Yeah.
And they cast him as Bundy, I'm like, you are making him much more attractive than what he really was.
He was not that good looking.
I've seen so many pictures of him, and I just don't get it.
I don't either. I don't either.
He is mid.
Not even for 1978.
No.
He was not. I never got that myself. But anyway, yeah. I get that she was trying to push back against that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think it was very effective, I guess.
It just would have been better if it wouldn't have been just the same thing over and over again. And it just was like, thrown in there. Like, it wasn't even like she was talking to somebody or somebody was defending him and saying this. It literally, it would just be in her inner monologue, being like, he just would. I'm like, we get it. We get it.
Over and over again. She thought about it over and over and over again.
It's like, man, this guy's got a hold on you, honey. Are you sure you're not one of his groupies? Because you think about him a lot.
Yeah. And it's like, she wasn't ever really scared.
That was another thing that I thought was really weird. It's like, she just like kind of like, so she sees this guy who, you know, at the time she didn't know exactly what he had done, but a strange man run out of her sorority. She sees him and then goes up and sees what he did. And never once was she like scared for her life, being like, oh my gosh, what if he did see me? I can't go back in this house. I can't be in this house. I can't blah, blah, blah. Like,
no.
And then they're going on this little hunt, her and Carl and Tina, and never once was she ever scared that, oh my gosh, like maybe he's watching me, or what they're finding out that he was watching all of his victims and like stalking them before he attacked, and we're finding these successful women who she was, you know, she got into Columbia Law. She was exactly one of the people that he would have targeted because he would have been jealous of her and her achievements because he wasn't very bright, you know. And
well,
so she was his like perfect victim, one of his perfect victims.
And I don't know if that was, you know, Tina's theory about how that's how he picked victims, was, you know, his incel misogynistic picking women who he was intimidated by.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is a thing that she lifted off of the real deal, or if that was,
I think,
something she made up.
To an extent. I mean, not to the extent that it was in the book. I think that was part of it, but I think it was more of like a opportunity strikes. He just found a girl that he fancied and kind of.
So he didn't target like the sorority like they tried to make out? I don't know.
I'd have to like look into that because it's been a minute since I've looked into the Bundy.
Anyway, I just didn't know if that was something that she decided on her own, or if that was an accepted part of the canon that he.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He struck that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know. Okay, so the other thing that really bothered me is like, so, you know, through this, of course, there was damage to the sorority house.
Yeah.
And part of the story was that they had applied to this fund.
Oh my gosh.
This state fund to help, you know, clean up, buy new mattresses, all of this kind of stuff, right? Which they ended up getting denied for. But what I could not shake was like, they were going shopping and they were buying all this stuff. And she was worried over funds because she was dipping into certain funds from the house and all of this. These girls are all like trust fund babies.
Right.
So again, Pamela herself is the daughter of a high-powered lawyer in New York City who none of these girls were working to pay for their education. And yet I'm supposed to feel sorry for them because they had to ask their alumna for funds to help them rebuild. And I'm like, why didn't y'all call your daddies?
Right.
You gonna tell me there wasn't such a thing as crowdsourcing? They wouldn't have been called that, but you know, it was like she wanted them to be relatable and sympathetic. Like, on top of all of this, they had to worry about how to pay for mattresses. Did they though? Did they? I don't think they did have to worry about it. Trying to decide between an $80 and $96 air conditioner.
Wow. If I saw if I needed an air conditioner or whatever, if I was in their situation and it was $80, I would just not get the air conditioner because I would not be able to afford it. So,
Well, it
you
was,
know,
yeah, I mean, they had their reasons for doing it, but they expected this
Right.
money to come in from this victim fund.
Kind of counting
It was
chickens
this,
before.
yeah, it was this fund that's supposed to help victims with the
Counting eggs
cleanup
before-
and replacing broken items and things like that. And so they were kind of counting on getting that. But I just could not, oops, I meant to turn my phone down, but I didn't. I just could not shake the idea that these are rich girls. And while, yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that they were being frugal and trying to be responsible with their chapter money and all of this, I'm like, I don't know. And I, appreciate independence and all of that and not relying on mommy and daddy's money. But I think in a situation like this, girls, crack out your own checkbooks,
Mhm.
or go to your alumna. I mean, my gosh.
Yeah.
And I also couldn't quite buy the school absolutely ignoring them.
Right.
Completely ignoring them.
That's way too big of a thing to have happened on the campus.
Yeah.
No school is going to ignore that.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't happen on campus, so
Well,
I guess
no, but they're still affiliated with the campus, with
Yeah.
the school, and so
Yeah.
in the news, the school's going to be associated with what happened.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I don't know. Oh, that's why it didn't stick. That's so cute.
Mary Chrysler. Oh, that's cute. Look at you go. Her
I'm
little
dragging.
ornaments.
Yes, I need to write 2024 on there somewhere. Get all the glue stuff off of there. I don't know. It just, that part, I just couldn't stop thinking. Because there was a lot of time spent on the money and applying for this fund and doing all. And I get that part of it was to show again how women were treated during that time. I kind of get that. But the whole worrying over the money thing, when probably at least half of the girls in this sorority could probably have whipped out a checkbook. Well, maybe not them themselves because it was 1978, but called their daddies.
Yeah.
Or that their daddies, because apparently everybody's parents but Pamela's were involved. Why? You're going to tell me their southern daddies didn't take them shopping?
Right. Or also like threaten the school to pay out.
Yeah, exactly.
Or threaten someone to pay out.
Exactly.
Because I could see that happening.
Especially like some of the dead girls.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, but I think it felt like anyway, it was just the author's attempt to make them more relatable.
Yeah. Which
And
she tried to do multiple times in
Yeah.
this book. Also, like with Pamela, like I mentioned before,
Yeah.
Pamela especially, and it just never hit.
No, it didn't. I don't know. Anyway.
I also was really disappointed that there wasn't like any tension in this book.
No, one of the things is billed as a thriller.
Yeah, and I don't understand how it could be a thriller because there was like I was bored.
Yeah,
with this book, I got bored.
It was very much a true crime format.
It wasn't.
Like
I don't think that it was because
but that's how it was. The format of it.
It's how
it was relating things, but
it's how it tried to be. But I think that even like true crime stories, like they do it so much better.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
And she kept trying to hint at it, like foreshadowing, like when she pressed charges against Roger, and it felt like the wrong thing to do. I went with my gut, and went with my instincts, and it would be all too soon when I realized my instincts would be wrong. So you think, oh, what happened?
Yeah, and then
nothing.
Wow,
they got denied the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was just sad. There was just like so many moments where it was like a build up to nothing.
Or the whole thing about the present day stuff.
yes.
Or she has to go back to Florida to meet the man that wanted to kill her. And I'm like, ooh, Roger? Is Roger getting out on parole or something?
Right.
Some 50 years later, but okay. No, it wasn't.
The whole backstory of Roger, that was weird.
Yeah.
And pointless. I
Was that real?
I don't know.
Because Denise was real, right? She kept the real names of the victims, I think.
I'm gonna have to Google some of this stuff. Because
that seemed way too random to be made up. There.
Oh, so cute. What was his name?
Roger. I don't remember. Did they ever say his last name?
Yeah, they did. Because they looked him up and they're like, the police looked him up and they were like, oh, he's actually 28. Like, how well do you know Roger so-and-so? How old do you think he is? And I don't know. I feel like it would have to be real, but if it's not real, then that was stupid to throw in there.
Yeah. Ugh, this is why I don't letter anything, because I can't. Because I suck.
Where's Pamela? Roger Yule.
Oh, well, that's right. Like Yule Burner. There. That was a cute idea, Amy.
Thanks.
Much better than the idea I had and then forgot about. Because I wanted to do it last year too. Is I wanted to string popcorn and cranberries and make garlands.
Well, we can still do that for the next one.
I know, but then it'll be in January and Christmas will be over.
Oh, that's true.
I know. I just thought about that the other day too. I'm like, oh well, a little late to suggest that. Hey, look, it's a cruff we finished.
Oh my gosh, we did finish and we didn't mess it up.
And it was cute. Good, and it's done.
Wow. I am.
It only took us all year to do it.
It took us multiple years.
Well, that's true. Just about the book.
I don't know. Nothing's telling me anything.
Oh, well, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
I want to know.
Yeah, if it is real, though, I mean, if it's not real, then yeah, it was dumb. But if it is real, it's still dumb because it shows him a real person interacting and doing crimes that he didn't do in real life.
Right.
Which seems a little sketchy. I mean, I get the guy's a criminal, but you can't just go around writing about things that they did, you know, or didn't do.
It's a podcast. That's
well.
why I can't find it. Nuggets. Oh, she's talking about, the author's talking about what she knew about Bundy and why she chose him. Apparently, she did not like him at all. She's like, I knew that he was good-looking, charismatic, and brilliant. That's what I thought I knew about him. Very quickly, when I started to research that era, his crimes, it was all right there. He was a pretty average guy. He just says Pamela. This is Pamela, 100%.
That's what I said. Everything about Pamela was like the author.
Yeah, he made a complete embarrassment of himself in the courtroom, even though the judge didn't seem to see it that way. I read the transcripts, and it was. I had secondhand embarrassment for him and his performance in the courtroom. So, Kathy Kleiner, was a survivor from Florida State University attack.
She's the one I think that
wrote her own
that
book.
wrote her
Yeah,
own book.
It says it right there. She was the one that had her jaw broken, her chin shattered, and her cheek ripped through. So she was
So
still.
she didn't even keep their real names for that? Okay. Why did she just not make something up? Why didn't she just make up a serial killer?
Apparently she didn't.
Make up an entire fiction? Why not? Why? Why?
I guess apparently she spoke to Kathy Kleiner.
And?
That's it. She just spoke to her.
Well, good for you.
And
I mean,
she told her story. Kathy told her story.
Okay. And it just hits me wrong that she wrote about a real life serial killer and his victims and then gave his victims different names. And completely made them up. I don't know. It just sits wrong with me for some reason. It's weird. It's just weird.
Pretty much, it sounds like that she couldn't believe that people thought that he was that great. And so she wanted to write a book that told people that he wasn't great.
So why didn't she just write a biography?
I don't know.
I mean, she could have done all that in a biography. I don't know, whatever. I mean, it was pretty obvious that's what she wanted to do. I mean, that was no.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why I get the weird feeling about the book that she really didn't want to represent the women. She wanted to dispel this mystique around Bundy. So see, it really was all about Bundy. It wasn't about the women.
Yeah, pretty much. It wasn't even her idea to write it from the women's perspective. This is just weird.
Hi, Sargie. Hi, Pope. Come here.
Hello, puppy dog. I can't find anything about who the real, but
Well,
I'm pretty sure that every character in there, aside from Bundy, was made up.
Okay. Well, whatever. I don't know. That is where the highest I will give this book is a 3, but I'm hovering more around like a 2.
So her eyewitness account, Pamela's eyewitness account, was a real thing. In the real case, the eyewitness did initially mistake Ted Bundy for their houseboy. So
not a boyfriend.
Not the boyfriend, not Roger or whatever, just the houseboy, the guy who comes in to fix things if they need things fixed or whatever. Initially.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. This podcaster's like, this book scared me. How?
There was nothing scary about this book.
No. Some of the scenes are so they're honest, real, they're graphic.
I don't remember anything graphic in this book either.
No, I mean like some of the descriptions of their injuries. Like
Maybe.
I mean, it wasn't like super graphic, but to someone who maybe doesn't like read a lot of like graphic things or lives in a bubble,
like body horror.
Yeah, or like doesn't watch the news. I mean, what was described in this book is what you'd get on the news.
I guess, yeah. I didn't find it very graphic at all. No, I don't know. Anyway, I did not like it. I didn't really like it very much.
No, I didn't either. It was just a disappointment. But that's okay, I guess. It happens.
It does.
It is sad though, because I bought the hardcover edition of this book and now I'm probably going to be selling it.
I did too. But I got mine secondhand, so.
Yeah, no, I bought mine full price. Ouch. Ouch, kabizzle.
Yeah.
But
Got mine secondhand, so I'm not
That's
feeling
okay.
too bad. Although, I don't know. I might keep it because it is kind of a neat
it's a really cool cover.
looking book. I don't know. But I keep way too many books and I need to get rid of some, so
Yeah.
probably won't keep this one. Probably won't. So that's that.
That is
That
Bright
is-
Young Women.
That is that.
Wasn't very pretty, it wasn't very bright.
Yeah. No. Sorry. So pretty, so bright, so demure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Kelly, did you decide on our book for our next book?
I did. After much deliberation.
Much deliberation.
Much
indeed.
deliberation. I decided a book I was already planning to read anyway, which is The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Long. I don't know if the E is silent or not. Oh, there you go. You can see. Just came out. It is a cozy fantasy-ish, I think, book. I don't know, really. It's a fantasy book. But there's supposed to be like found family in this, and it's supposed to be warm and cozy, but yet still some warm and cozy books are all like it's just a cinnamon roll in a book. But this one I think has some real drama to it, some real tension in it. So we're gonna be reading that book for December.
The book that Kelly was mad got snobbed on the Goodreads Awards. So hopefully.
Yeah, it just didn't. I think it came out too late in the year. I think was
No, because it
no, I mean just not to have it be popular enough
oh.
is what I think. But yeah, I am. I haven't even read it yet, and I'm just mad because I just love the sound of it. There is a magical cat in it. Wait, there's a kitty cat right there. Magical cat. You're gonna tell me that you're not going to nominate a book that has a magical cat?
Please.
I mean, we all know that Starter Villain got nominated last year because there was genetically modified cats in it. We all know that.
That's the 100% the reason.
It's the cats. So anyway, I debated. I almost chose The Frozen River, which is a murder mystery set in 1789. And the main character is like a midwife healer of that time, but I was a little afraid of where it was going to go into women's issues instead of murder mystery. If it had been a flat up murder mystery in 1789, I'd have been on it. But I'm really getting strong hints of feminist themes and topics, which is fine. I just don't think I'm ready for it so soon after Bright Young Women.
Yeah.
Not quite yet. But it will be on my TBR now because it does sound good. It really does. But anyway, that is it.
Yeah, so join us first Sunday of January.
Yeah.
To discuss The Teller of Small Fortunes.
By Julie Leong. I think it's Leong. I don't know. It's inverted. I can't do it right.
We're bad at this, but
yes. So anyway, there you go.
Well, so yeah, that's gonna do it for our book club book discussion today. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, give it a thumbs up and also go down below the video and follow us. We got new videos every Sunday and book club discussions and all of that fun jazz. Go check us out on Instagram, TikTok at Everyday Epic Book Club for even more content. And
Mhm.
yeah, do all that.
Do all that. And while you're doing all of that, be sure and check out the rest of Amy's channel, where she has more than just book content, which, really, do you need any more? But it's a bonus. You get it. You'll get home renovations, you'll get shopping hauls, you'll get travel videos, you'll get kitties running everywhere, and so much more. And then you can also go check out her blog, which has even more articles like Watch It Wednesday, where she watches Netflix shows, or Foodie Fridays, where she reviews restaurants. So go check it all out and become a part of the Everyday Adventurer family. We have so many titles. It is hard to keep track of sometimes.
There's too many titles, but oh well, it's fine.
The Everyday Adventurer family. Yeah.
And let us know in the comments too what you guys thought of Bright Young Women. You agree with us? Did you love the book? Did you hate it? Whatever. And also feel free to share your ornaments if you also crafted some ornaments too. We need to get better about picking crafts and posting what we're gonna do so people can craft with us.
They could craft with us. That could be depressing to watch people do things so much better than we can, but
No, I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I've already accepted the fact that I'm a terrible crafter, so the fact that this turned out this decent, I mean, I'm pretty proud of it, to be honest.
I'm telling you what, yeah.
I think this is our best craft yet.
It's the only one we finished, I think. So
it's still the best
although the very first one we ever did, the bottle rocket.
Yes, that was fun.
That was fun.
Fun.
While you're checking out Amy's channel, go way back to the beginning.
Way back. It's not a great discussion.
But
it's a great craft.
Maybe not so much watch the whole video, but skip to the end where we made rockets.
Yeah, and the cats loved them.
Yeah. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun. So anyway, there we go.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Do it for us today. And I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
the Everyday Epic.
We'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye.